On today's video, update 34 was announced. It's a huge one, and in this video, we're not gonna read through the whole update, but rather give you the top 5 most important changes in this update that I believe will change Rise of Kingdoms as a whole. Some of these changes are event specific, others are mechanics events, others are buffs and debuffs of equipment. That's right, we have a bunch to talk about. So if you want to know what are the most important parts of this update, sit back, drop a like on the video, and let's go. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Today, update 34 was announced, and holy moly, it's huge. Coming on June 1st, there are a ton of changes, but I picked 5 changes that I think are the most crucial ones for the game as a whole, and another 3 commendable changes that I think are very important as well, but just didn't fit the top 5. I ask of you if you think that one of my top 5 is wrong and you think there's another section of this update that is important for the community to know about. Let us know in the comments down below which ones you think are the most important ones. What changes do you like, you don't like, and all that good stuff. Comments are open for that, as well as if you want to hit me up on Discord, there's a link in the description down below. I'm a sponsored content creator by Rise of Kingdoms. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to know when I upload a new video every single day. Rise of Kingdoms. 69.3% of you are not subscribed. What are you waiting for? Welcome to all of you new viewers. I hope to earn your subscription today. With that being said, let's go over the top 5 changes in this update that I think are the most crucial ones. There's no particular order. This is just 5 of them, and we're just gonna get through this, and I think you guys are really gonna dig this update. I'm very much loving it. It's huge. Anyway, change number 1 is the Golden Kingdom event. That's right. There is a brand new single player dungeon-like type of event that is joining the Rise of Kingdoms event pool. Now, I don't really know whether or not this is a daily event. It's something that you'll have available whenever. It's an event that comes and goes and things like that. I do really like this single player event. The reason I like the single player events is primarily because I've found myself back in the day when Sorority Crisis required a 50% expansion that you really need to be online when a lot of people are online and doing this event, and sometimes it's really frustrating. The new Sorority is a little bit better because you can at least get it done in Nightmare mode for tier 5 players without having to worry too much. But if you want to do Hell event, then you really need to have the right people at the right time, and it's like, on the one hand, yeah, you can find yourself kind of like Chiskel has the 4 horsemen where the 4 of them do these things at the same time. But, you know, it requires a little bit of coordination, which I prefer having a little bit of more single player availability. That way, when I'm bored at work or, you know, on the toilet or something like that, I don't know, want to sit down and play a little bit of Rise of Kingdoms, a single player dungeon mode is definitely something that I think is missing in this game. Hopefully it resets daily, and you can do it daily, kind of like Expedition, except for the fact that nobody really does Expedition once they're done with them. So that's point number 1, which I think is very important in the life cycle and in the way Rise of Kingdoms is played, a brand new single player dungeon-like event. Change number 2 is actually an interesting one that is a bit controversial. So up in other changes, point 10, a 12-hour peace shield is now available in the shop. Now, I'm hoping and praying that when they say the shop, they mean the Alliance shop and not the gem shop, just because I would really like there to be a little bit more of peace shields availability, especially the 12-hour ones. The reason this is so important is that in the game right now, you only have 8-hour shields, 24-hour shields, and on. Now, quite frankly, the 24-hour shields are a bit expensive and not that accessible in-game except for buying with gems. And the 8-hour shields are just not enough. If I go to sleep and I put a shield down, I essentially need to guarantee that I wake up within 8 hours of when the shield goes down. If you woke up 20 minutes late, you could be zeroed. A 12-hour peace shield gives you a little bit more leeway. It allows you to sleep in. It allows you to potentially wake up in the morning, get your morning stuff done, and only then get into Rise of Kingdoms. Rather, wake up and first thing you do is Rise of Kingdoms. I like the idea of 12-hour shields. I think that Rise of Kingdoms really need to step up their game in terms of the usage of shields. all you see shields being used for is either for folks who port into Lost Kingdom way up front and just don't want to port back, or for farm walls and things like that. So I would really like to see shields be a bit more utilized. A 12-hour peace shield will save a lot of folks from being zeroed in the future. So I feel like this is a very important change we should put in our top 5 changes. Our third change in the top 5 changes is the huge section about Lost Kingdom and Past Glory. Now, Lost Kingdom is the most important event in Rise of Kingdoms, really. It's the one that everybody looks forward for. It's the one that is just what the game is about. War between kingdoms and things like that. Granted, Ark of Osiris is also one of the most popular events in the game, one that also folks look forward for Osiris League. But this is the number one, and the changes in here are quite frustrating. First and foremost, you cannot deliver Ethelfled sculptures anymore in stage 3 of Past Glory when you're rebuilding your Crusader Fortress. That was the only use for Ethelfled sculptures after she's expertised. Yes, you can use them as gold stars. Have you seen how much percentage, how many points you get out of that as a gold star? You're going to need thousands of them to get any meaningful progress, and you're actually going to have to click a boatload of times on them and hopefully not make a mistake. I understand the use of them as gold stars. I'll still buy them for that. But there is no use for those sculptures anymore. There's no use for the coins that you get in Expedition. You get much more coins than things you can buy in the shop once you maximize all your epic commanders. Once you have all your epics done, you have Constance done, you have Ethelfled done, what do you get? You get like the gold stars down there, a little bit of legendary commanders every now and then. Like, you spend what, 2,000-3,000 coins and get over 7 every day? Those coins needs better use. And my suggestion, Lilith Gaming, if you guys are listening, is instead of an Ethelfled sculpture, those who have Ethelfled expertise will have the opportunity 3 times a day to get a random sculpture between epics and legendaries, being that, you know, probably you get a little bit more epics than legendaries, but a good chance on the legendaries. And that way you allow folks to essentially use those coins to get lucky and get a sculpture that they might need, or even if they don't need. If you get a sculpture of an expertise legendary commander, oh well. But if you put in there, for example, Mightiest Governor commanders, you put in there wheel commanders, but at a much lower rate than the gold key commanders, for example, that could be really cool to have something to do with those coins. Because that slot is completely useless after Ethelfled, and unless you introduce a new legendary commander, which we now have to get like a pick between Ethelfled and the new legendary commander, yeah, bad news bear altogether. The second point is all about like immigration while Lost Kingdom is happening, letting you know about the whole thing of commanders that are available in older kingdoms may not be available in younger kingdoms, and if you migrate from a happening Lost Kingdom to a newer kingdom, those commanders will be indeed locked. And if you have any of those commanders on your wall, you're gonna have to reset all your commanders on your garrison. This is just with immigration during Lost Kingdom and the rules of commanders and things like that. Points 3 and 4 are the most weird ones. So they've decreased the chances of you encountering an ancient ruin or altar of darkness, but increased the honor points you get out of them. And on top of that, they also made it so that the stalkers you need to kill to get the ancient ruins and altar of darkness in the history progress was reduced. So now you don't need to kill 10 anymore. They've dropped it down. So that's a good thing, because with 1 march, and only 2 chances, it's stupid hard. It really, really is stupid hard. With 5 marches, it was easy. You kill 2 of them with 5 marches, done. But it's just ridiculously hard with the 1 march, and you got to coordinate it really well. And it's just a nightmare. So point 4 is nice, but point 3 is weird. How would you reduce the chances to encounter these events? The way you do that is essentially by randomizing the next time the next event will happen. So instead of being fixed 60 hours and 15 hours, it'll change occasionally. The reason they did that, I'm assuming, is to kind of make it so that you cannot prepare ahead of time for the next fight for these events, which I can understand. But what I really hope they did is that they made it so that each one of these buildings is independent of the others. Currently, when ancient ruins happen, all 8 of them happen at the same time. When Altars of Darkness happen, all 4 of them happen at the same time. So that causes massive lag. If they make it so that each building is an independent building that happens at different times, the lag can be mitigated by dropping the server load from one specific hour for where everybody's going crazy to here and there's different times where each of them works. But if you do that, you also got to maintain that they don't clash with each other, because it would be a really bad strategic disadvantage if someone gets unlucky and their altar happens at the same time, their ruins happen at the same time, another ruins happen, but then the rest of them are independent of each other. This is a weird one, but it's an important one for you to know. This section as a whole is a really important one as our point number 3, Path Glory improvements for the stalkers you need to kill. You cannot submit Ethelfleds anymore into stage 3 to get those coins to try to get yourself rewards and I guess resource chests and whatnot. Not a big fan, but a very important change nonetheless. Point 4 is a fairly ridiculous one. Equipment attributes optimizations. They changed 2 accessories in the way they work. They changed the Pendant of Eternal Night, which was a legendary pendant accessory, just stupendously expensive. It used to do skill damage plus 5% and normal attack damage minus 2%. And now it's only 5% skill damage. So that's a buff to this Pendant of Eternal Night. I don't really know who has one of these or if people aim for these. Pendant of Eternal Nights are ridiculously expensive, and they used to be fairly hard to get blueprints of. I don't know with the changes to the barbarian keeps and forts whether they're that hard anymore or not. The second change here though is quite ridiculous. Delane's Amulet used to give us a normal incoming attack damage of plus 5% as the negative part of it, but then the incoming counterattack damage was negative 10%. Well, now they took away the normal incoming attack damage, but also slashed in half counter damage taken. Is it a buff or a debuff? Is it a nerf or an upgrade? I am not entirely sure, because counter damage is indeed weaker than normal damage. So by taking out those +3 damage on normal attack that you receive, you're actually potentially better off. You might take less damage than you would before, but the counterattack damage decrease from minus 10% to minus 5% kind of sucks. But at the same time, is it that significant? So the real question is the trade-off of normal attack damage +3 worth the offset of 5% counterattack damage decrease? I think it might. I don't really know to tell you if Delane's Amulet got buffed or nerfed, but I think that this is okay. I think that it doesn't nerf it like crazy. It might. We're gonna have to see the results of all of this. I'm not a fan of the fact that there are like 6, there are really only 4 useful accessories, and 2 of them just got changed, which is really weird. I hope that we get a bunch of equipment coming in with this update. They usually don't announce new equipment in update in patch notes. And when they do have that, we will make a video updating our top tier list of equipment and going over each one of those equipment pieces. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel to know when that happens. We also have a bunch of other equipment guides to make that I still owe you guys. We'll get to those, I promise to you. A lot of content's been going out recently in the game, and going back to a piece of content that I can do when there's more downtime is kind of rough. So that's coming. Don't worry. I promise it's coming. I haven't forgotten about you guys. The accessories video, the leadership, the other types of equipment sets that you can get and all that stuff, that's in the making. Our final top 5 point, the 5th and final point in here, I think is the most important one for the health of older kingdoms. Immigration power cap for immigrants coming into Imperium kingdoms was increased from 25 million to 35 million. Hallelujah. It's not that huge of a change, but it's drastic enough, and I'll explain why. A 25 million power player is a player who has been playing for a while, is a player that's enjoying the game. It's a player that's advancing through the game very, very well. But it's not necessarily a player who's 100% invested into the game. And by invested, I don't mean financially. I mean also in terms of how much time and effort they put into the game. 25 million power is a lot, but it's just the very beginning of a lot more to come. It's very hard to gauge and to essentially have folks who are 25 million power coming into a kingdom, and a big part of them after a while just never really grow beyond that, quit the game, find themselves wanting to go to a different kingdom, and things like that. A 35 million power player has a little bit more invested into the game in terms of time, effort, and money too. They're players who might know a little bit better what they want out of a kingdom and out of their gaming experience. And so the increase from 25 to 35 million allows much more players to potentially come into Imperium Kingdoms. This is crucial because the top Imperium Kingdoms have been dying off slowly and steadily. It's just how the game is set up right now. It just kills the top Imperium Kingdoms. Those who stay at the bottom of the 32 really get to enjoy more of the game because they coincidentally go in and out of Imperium, allows them to get a few more folks in, then they go into Imperium and stuff like that. That change is huge. I'm really happy to see Lilith working on immigration for Imperium Kingdoms. I don't think this is enough. I think that there has to be something else to be done in here. And I'll give you a quick example. If a big player wants to come into Imperium Kingdoms, it should maybe cost them a little more passport pages than non-Imperium Kingdoms. That way you stop folks from coming in all into the one kingdom, right? Maybe something of that sort. There has to be something that allows Imperium Kingdoms to breathe. This is like a tank of air for us, for the Imperium Kingdoms at the top to breathe out of, but it's also very limited, and at the end of the day, that air is going to run out too. The previous air tank that we got has been gone for a while, and a lot of the big kingdoms at the top have been really struggling and dying off. This might revive them up a little bit, so great big change that affects the game as a whole for you to know about. Finally, the 3 commendable changes that are important for you to know about as well, that are not necessarily the top 5 in my opinion. Now, number 1 is the fact that they optimized rally notifications to help governors notice them in time. I literally suffered with this. I didn't know I was getting rallied until I went to my city and I was like, why is there an animation on my city? So great to know about this. Very important. It'll help a bunch of you guys. It'll help me to know when things are happening. Man, that rally that I took was wild. It was such a crazy time. Holding the building here and sending marches there and getting rallied at the same time. It was all a mess and it was awesome. The second point in our commendable list is in the second point of this update, a new Alliance event calendar. It allows you essentially to set up a calendar for your Alliance's events to schedule them. If you're going to be scheduling buffs, you're going to be scheduling Silk Roads, Karak bosses and all that, now there is a place where everybody can know where it happens. It doesn't have to come out in mail. It's easier to organize. This is great to help Alliances organize themselves and their events. 2 thumbs up. I like it a lot. The final commendable change in this update is point 14. Prolong the duration of all concussions and elixirs. Concussions now last 1 hour and elixirs last for 30 minutes. This is like something new Lilith have been playing with for Soroli Crisis. You really can't get this hell mode done without an elixir or a concussion. It is what it is. And quite frankly, the time window of those is still way too small. It has to go up quite a lot more than this. And it goes back to the point that I was saying where it's really tough to coordinate with people to do it at the right time. And so when do you use your potions? When do you use your elixirs? When do you do this? Does everybody do it at the same time and then there's not enough time for everyone to finish the event? Do you get 4 people to decide that use it at the same time? This needs to grow by quite a lot, but the fact that Lilith introduced these concussions and elixirs a couple of weeks back and they're already tweaking it tells us that they are paying attention to these things. They're paying attention to our feedback. A lot of you told them that needs to be a lot more time, and they are already making that very small change that is crucial for this event and hopefully many other events where we'll have elixirs and concussions in the future, because I'm sure we will have them. But yeah, these are my top 5 changes for the update, top 3 commendable changes in this update. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm Gekko. I'm out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Don't forget to drop a like on it before you leave. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, all in the description down below, as well as a new merch store. That is right. If you want some Gekko merch, cop it there. It's in the description down below. And I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Take care. Peace.